Okay, so we're going to refactor this thing. First, we're going to get rid of this attr accessor. There's another video that I'll link to you soon that is also going to show this, but attr accessors, maybe not always an anti-pattern, but you don't really want to rely on them. You want to be able to rely on stoned. So we don't have access to stoned anymore. So how do we do that? So rather than also these classes, these two classes are now tightly coupled, because when you're inside of the stare method, which is a method in the Medusa class, any victim that's passed in has to be able to respond to the stoned method equals true. That's kind of a lot to ask for. So we're going to say, what do we wish we could say? Command D copies the line. So I copied the line. I'm going to uncomment. I'm going to comment the line. We're going to refactor, and we're going to say victim dot make stoned. We're going to run the test, and it's going to throw an error because we don't have a make stoned. So this is aspirational coding. I don't have tests for this. I just want this make stoned make stoned method to exist in this victim class, and I want it to do what I want. So def make stoned end, and what are we going to do? We're going to say at stoned equals true. So now we've just extracted this make stoned piece into this class. So victim.makestoned. That's an improvement. Believe me, it'll make sense later. Now we're running this problem with stoned equals for this thing here. So we're going to do the same thing. So old victim dot stoned equals false. So we're going to copy that code, comment that one out. We're going to say old victim dot make unstoned. And you know what that means? We're going to need def make unstoned down here, and at stoned equals true. So this is now, let's say we change the name of this attribute later. We don't have to go mess around in our Medusa class. We just know that as long as this person make unstoned thing does kind of what we want on the person class, anyone out there in the world can call make unstoned and have consistent results. So run the tests, stoned equals. Oh yeah, victim.stoned equals true. So now we get to reuse that. So we're going to do victim.makestoned. And it errors. So failed refutation on line 59. So refute victim.stoned question mark. Why did this fail? Old victim.make unstoned at stoned equals, this should be false. Cool, passes. Okay, so that's a little bit of cleanup. So we've decoupled these classes a little bit by dropping the attr reader piece down. I'm making everything work with an attr reader, no longer an attr accessor. I still don't like this. So let's say def stare victim. We're going to say handle excess victims. We're just going to delete all this code. We'll comment it out. It's hard. Sometimes it's hard to refactor code because you get so locked into the that which you're seeing. So as I wrote this, I was like, I don't like this. We'll refactor it later, and it's tricky to refactor later. So I kind of want to unroll back to our earlier plan. So we had the stare stuff was introduced. Medusa.stare here. So we're just going to add it. So we want add statues in victim. We're going to bring that line of code up. So we're going to shovel in statues in victim. And if I delete all of that, let's see, 45, 60, 31. So line 31 failed. So this passes. So line 31, this failed. So statues, shovel in victim, and then victim.make stoned. This should pass the 31. So now we've got two failures, 59, 45. So let's fix. By the way, since tests run in random order, but these tests are kind of written in order, I'm running all of the tests, but then I'm just looking to see which of these failures happened first in the test file. And this failed on line 45, so it happened first. Expected 3, actual 4 on line 45. So let's fix that. 45. So that failed. So we want to handle excess victims. So we shoveled in 3 victims. Now we're shoveling in a 4th. So we'll say process extra victims. Def process extra victims. And so we're about to use a guard clause. There will be a link somewhere floating around here. Guard clauses are great. Return false if statues.count is less than or equal to 3. Right now, we know that this code is just going to exit. This method will do nothing unless the statues.count is greater than 3. If statues.count is greater than 3, now we want to go get this line of code. statues.shift, and then we're going to say old victim.make unstoned. So this will pop off statues, the first victim, and it'll make it unstoned. If and only if there's more than 3 victims that we've shoved into this array. So let's run our code. Boom, that is beautiful. So now we can delete all of this, and this is cleaner. So this line of code gets run every time, but this looks, this is a lot better. Okay. Now, there was one last thing. What I want you to do, so maybe a lot of you have presumably come to look at this video because it was maybe, this is a hard mythical creature, right? So probably didn't all finish this. I bet the way that I approached this program or this solution was not the exact same as the way you approach the solution. And this refactor now has, like, this finish code is now very different than what the code was that you had earlier when you made everything pass. So I'm going to propose one extra thing, which is going to solidify your learning. Because, man, so the way you learn something, or what you've learned something when, you can identify what's going on and then extract like concepts or pieces of that thing that you've learned. And then in novel and new situations, you can apply them. So your learning goals are not achieved until you have learned some portable piece of knowledge that you can apply in new and novel ways. That's a pretty high bar for learning. Should be intimidating. I'm intimidated by that high bar for learning. I'd be like, cool, I read this book, I learned some stuff. Not necessarily. Especially watching videos. Watching videos is like the easiest way of feeling like we've learned something without actually learning something. So if you're still watching this video and you've taken the walk, you're the kind of person that is capable of implementing this third piece of advice, which is you're going to take another walk, and then you're going to delete this whole class and you're going to rebuild it from scratch. But you're not just going to rebuild it from scratch. I want you to write it down on paper, like this kind of paper. You're going to write all of these, I don't know, how many lines of code is this? 39 lines of code on paper, and then you're going to rebuild it from that paper. The rebuilding it is going to go super fast. I feel so strongly about this that it is almost 11 o'clock at night. I'm going to write this whole class down on this piece of paper. I'll show you in a moment. I'm going to delete it and I'm going to rebuild it from the paper because I want you to do this. So here we go. Okay, I did it. That took, I don't know, look at the timestamps later. Very short period of time. It'll be in this video somewhere. This is what it looks like. Class Medusa. I got bad handwriting. Don't worry about it. Class Medusa, handwritten stuff all the way through there, and I didn't want to flip the page, so this method is the last one here. Man, it is hard to do this pointing in like mirror image. I did this. You should do it. If you're still watching the video and you haven't done it, I don't know what else I can tell you, but I don't know why like, if you're gonna, like, just don't even bother watching without writing it down. Send me a picture in Slack of when you've written this thing down. I will be stoked. You'd be surprised at the number of people that don't do this, and I will celebrate every single one of these. To support the learning goals, with a piece of paper, you're going to delete all the code in your editor, and then you're going to rebuild the code while referencing the piece of paper. Feels like a big task. It's not. I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to speed up the video, but I'm going to do it right now so you can see how quick it is. Because you've already wrestled with and written down the stuff that you need to do, the second time through is going to go so much quicker. And it's going to support your learning goals. Which is the whole reason you're here at Turing, is to learn stuff. So don't shortchange yourself. Piece of paper for reference, right here, right in front of me. Command A, I'm not commenting it out and hiding it. Not doing that. I'm selecting it all, I'm deleting it. Empty this. I'm going to do def a bunch of those and, skip, and then rerun the tests, and they're all skipped. So we remove the first one. Great. Here we go. Class Medusa. So I know, so now this test will pass. So collected, no statues. I already remember this, so I'm going to do at statues equals empty statue. This test is going to pass. Gains a statue. So we need this def stare thing. Def stare victim end. We do at statues, and we're going to shovel in this victim. So this test is now going to pass. I'm not even running them. I've also done this mythical creature a couple times, so maybe you should run your tests, but this is just an example. Person turns to stone. Victim.stone. So now we've got this person thing, so we're going to drop down here and do class person and definitialize name, name equals name, and then adder reader name. So now I've got this victim thing. We don't really need name. That's not going to cause a problem, so we'll just leave it out. Then we have, so victim is this person. We need stoned. So we're going to do at stoned equals false. And now we're going to add adder reader stoned. And then this method is going to be def stoned question mark and is going to return stoned. Great, so this test is going to pass. Can only have 3 victims, so now is the fun stuff. Def stare victim. Oh yeah, and then this actually isn't going to pass. I was too quick. So this needs to be refuted. Victim.stoned. So shovel in the victim, and then victim dot, and we already know make stoned is the solution. So we're going to do def make stoned and at stoned equals true. So this is going to pass. Let's run the test just for fun. Statues, statues, statues. Statues, undefined. Oh yeah, add a reader name. Statues. Forgot to add that. Great. So now we're down to line 45, which is what I was working on. So 45. So it can only have 3 victims. So we already know process extra victims. Def process extra victims, and then we're going to say return false if statues.count is greater than 3. Which isn't how I had it written. I had less than or equal to 3, which is another way of writing the same thing. Is less than or equal to. I'm sorry, it's not the same. Whatever. That's why I have my notes. Less than or equal to 3. Then we're going to do old victim equals at statues dot shift, and then old victim dot make unstoned means we need to go down here. Def make unstoned, and at stoned equals false. Run the tests and errors. Undefined method name for person. Okay, so we do actually need this name. Great. Last one. First victim is stoned, fourth is unstoned, so process sector of victims should pass. Great, that took like no time. Okay, so this took like no time to rebuild it. You'll probably take a little bit longer because you haven't done this mythical creature a bunch of different times, but the difference in learning outcomes between doing this whole mythical creature once, so that's 1, and then refactoring, that's better, and then writing it down on paper is even better, and then writing it down on paper and rebuilding it from paper is amazing. So don't shortchange yourself. Go for another walk. Do it again.